Welcome back to the David Pakman Show.
Welcome to the bonus show. Quick bit of advice, a little recommendation. I saw X-Men Days of Future Past yesterday, and I loved it, so go check that out. I have a story here about chocolate from Malaysia. Well, Cadbury chocolate in Malaysia. There were 2 products recalled after they were tested positive for traces of pork DNA. And, of course, these are products that are supposed to be halal. So basically the Muslim equivalent of kosher, I guess you could say, right? Is that a fair?
Yeah, there's halal carts all over New York City. And the weirdest thing, Lewis, is the other day, there's a halal breakfast cart on the walk from my apartment to the subway in Brooklyn, and it says halal, and then it says bacon, egg, and cheese. And I'm thinking to myself, what is this? Maybe it's turkey bacon. And if you ask, they would say, oh, it's not pork bacon, it's turkey bacon. But it's the weirdest thing.
All right. Anyway, there are 2 products here. I didn't know Cadbury made products. These 2 products were called Dairy Milk Hazelnut and Dairy Milk Roast Almond. So I'm not sure if this is like a creamer, if this is just a flavored milk product, if this is almond milk and hazelnut milk. I really don't know. But anyway, there was pork found in these products, which I think everyone would agree with me. It's probably unusual to find pork in a product labeled Dairy Milk Roast Almond.
Yes, you would. And I wonder if this was a deliberate thing that they weren't telling people about? Was it some weird kind of cross-contamination?
Cadbury Malaysia did not comment on this. So I don't really know. I doubt it was intentional, but how does that happen? I don't get how it happens. Anyway, a lot of people are pretty upset, and this, of course, means that a lot of people who, for religious reasons, were never supposed to consume pork, did.
Although, remember, Lewis, that at least if you don't eat pork because you're Jewish, if you consume pork inadvertently, and or someone tricked you into eating it or whatever, if you were to believe, following the internal logic of what you're supposed to eat, you're not guilty of any kind of sin because you didn't do anything wrong. You acted in good faith. I don't know if it's the same thing
right.
for devout Muslims as far as that goes.
I don't know. If anyone knows, tell us. I have a story here sent to me by Dan. And then yesterday on NPR, I heard some news about this. A woman was stoned to death by her family,
right,
outside of a courthouse in a Pakistani city, in broad daylight in front of a crowd, because she married a man that they disapproved of. She did not have consent. I later learned that of course they're called honor killings. It kind of sounds like an oxymoron, but these honor killings, there are about 1,000 of them a year, 1,000 women a year, roughly, in Pakistan,
right,
die due to honor killings. So she was 25 years old. Her name was Farzana Parveen, and she was on her way to court with her husband to contest an abduction case that her family filed against the husband. I guess before deciding to kill her, they at least filed an abduction claim, which of course is false because they willingly married each other. Her father was promptly arrested on murder charges, and I guess the police say they're trying to apprehend everyone involved. But like I said, this was in front of a crowd in broad daylight. And when I read that part, I'm thinking to myself, well, what was the husband doing while this was happening? What was the crowd doing while this was happening? Apparently nobody did anything, right?
Yeah, this story is insane on so many levels. Number one, we know about this dynamic where if there's a big crowd that observes someone getting beat up on the street, it is no more likely, in fact, sometimes it is less likely than if there is a small crowd that someone will intervene due to the group mentality that, oh, there's enough people here where someone else is going to be the person to take care of this. So that's one element. But that may not even be a factor here because maybe culturally, Lewis, it's seen that if there is a family stoning going on, for cultural reasons, you don't intervene. And this idea really gets us to the crux of this, which is we've talked about how some religious beliefs regardless of what the justification is in terms of a sacred text that supports the belief or action, it is indicative of mental illness and disconnection from reality. If we talk about this, some would say, not many are defending this, they have been charged with a crime, remember that. Some would say that honor killings in general, not this particular one though, are something that culturally is okay and that we Westerners just don't understand. How can we do that, right? I mean, people like Sam Harris would say, and he does say, that there is a rational and scientific basis for morality, and that there is no there's no way to culturally write this off as we don't understand their culture, that factually speaking, rationally speaking, we can do an analysis of so-called honor killings via stoning by one's family, and that is immoral, and that it is also mental illness, some would go as far as to say. But not everybody agrees with that. We hear cultural differences used to justify all sorts of behavior.
We see stories of children committing heinous crimes, children, young adults, you name it, and in this country and in other countries, and then we see their parents defend them to the death just because clearly they are this person's child. And I think my parents would fit that category. I think I could go on a killing rampage, David, and my parents would still say, "We love you. We're going to support you. We're going to help you with your legal defense, whatever you need."
Okay, but however,
you know
Lewis, most parents would say that, but not all of them would blindly say you were innocent, right? I mean, that would be another level to say, in spite of all the evidence, I know Lewis really didn't do it. That would be another level.
That's another level. That happens. I mean, that's just denial. That's a common human thing. I don't know. But here you have someone who dishonors the family. And then you have a father killing his daughter with his bare hands. And I don't know. I have to imagine, I can only imagine, I'm thinking to myself that the majority of Pakistani families would not be capable of something like this.
I would assume so. And then just a correction, not really killing her with his bare hands, but using his bare hands to throw stones at her.
And taking bricks and just like smashing her in the head with bricks and stuff.
Gotcha,
yeah.
Okay.
It was quite the scene, I guess. So anyway, there's a quote here from the father. He says, "I killed my daughter as she has insulted all of our family by marrying a man without our consent, and I have no regret over it."
Yeah.
All right. What a guy.
I just don't know how you can have that position and say that if we only understood the culture, that's a logical position. I'm sorry, I just don't understand that.
Right. I like I said, I don't think that this would be normal and acceptable for the majority of Pakistani families.
Oh, no.
I don't see it.
No.
Okay, a little tech story here, quick tech story. Some researchers at a Munich university have essentially created a helmet that basically interprets your brain waves, and then an algorithm that converts that into commands for a flight simulator. And one of the real flight simulators, the ones that pilots are actually trained on. So no different from actually flying a plane for the most part. And the point of this was to just see if people could control and fly a plane using only their thoughts. And it was pretty successful. I guess the majority of these people using their thoughts alone, and the first time doing it, would have actually passed some of the requirements for obtaining a flying license just by, after this experiment.
This is amazing. And it reminds me of, in Battlestar Galactica, there is this separate race from humans called the Cylons. And they are kind of part human, part machine. But the interesting thing is their aircraft are alive in the sense that they are metal and flesh on the inside, and merely by thinking, the aircraft flies because the aircraft is, in essence, the being itself. And this is the opening of the door to that, right, Lewis? And I wonder if we had really good technology for controlling our cars with our thoughts, would that reduce accident rates? Like if you had, if that was the method through which you controlled the vehicle, if you eliminated the brain to arms and feet part of it, would you have safer automobile transport? I don't know.
I'm not sure. Good question. I guess the research was part of a bigger EU-funded program called Brain Flight, and I guess some of the idea here is to make, or so they say, a long-term vision of the project is to make flying accessible to more people, whatever that means. With brain control, flying in itself could become easier. This would reduce the workload of pilots and thereby increase safety. In addition, pilots would have more freedom of movement to manage other manual tasks in the cockpit. So I guess they envision it as just some type of supplemental piloting method.
Fascinating. I mean, we have this. We have the Google driverless cars. We have the actual, the new prototype Google car, which doesn't even have a steering wheel or pedals. You literally just program in the destination. There's so much exciting stuff happening right now.
There is, but I kind of wish that we could just jump 100, 200 years into the future and see what is happening then.
Lewis, you're not the first person in human history to say that exact phrase.
Oh, of course not. I mean, it would just be, so much more fascinating than what we're talking about now. I mean, let's face it, David.
Well, it would be more
cars,
fascinating to us, but at that point, whatever was still 100 or 200 years off would be way more fascinating to the people of that time.
Right. I guess just in general, I wish I could time travel. So hopefully we come up with that technology, even though it's really, I guess, impossible to go backwards, as we've discussed. But who would want to, David? It stinks back there. Let's forget about it.
The David Pakman Show at davidpakman.com.